Well, hello, friends. Hi, I can see that we have some people online, so that's lovely. Nice to see you. Say hello in chat if you feel like it. Uh, all right, so let's get into it. So I was talking on Twitter about code coverage because yesterday I made a big leap. I was able to um, set up code coverage in my repo, and the reason I wanted to set it up actually was because when I look into GitHub, Cypress has this real world app. I think it's called like this. Maybe not. Nope. Let's look into Cypress.io. Cypress real world app, and this is an interesting project. So Cypress made their own app, which is kind of like a banking app of some sort. Let me make it bigger. How can I? Oh, here it is. Yep. So it's an app. It's a real world app built by Cypress team. And what they do, they have created this real world app that showcases how Cypress can be made. Oh, here you. Hey, Gleb. Hi. That's how you make money. All right. So you can send money to via this app. All right. I haven't tried that feature, but I have the app actually here. Let me open a new window. And Cecilia is here also. Wow, cool. It looks like the whole Cypress team came to watch. Okay, so now I'm nervous because what I did yesterday was just an experiment, and as I mentioned, I only half know what I'm doing. So Cypress real world app, and what was interesting when I played with this app a little, it also has a coverage, you can see here. What was interesting here was how many tests are in this app, and it is not so many. I mean, Gleb or Cecilia, maybe you might know what is the total number of tests, but it's certainly less than what we have at Slido, which is a couple of hundred of end-to-end tests, which is nice, of course. But the interesting part here about this real-world app is that they have 100% coverage. I think it's even written somewhere in here. And I mean, that's for one thing, like README badge. Okay, look at the README badge. Thank you, Gleb. Yeah, here it is. Code coverage, 100%. 324 tests. Well, that's impressive. I mean, it's not that much, but I think it's really effective, right? If you go and create your tests by using code coverage, or you use that as a guide for writing your tests, I think that can actually help you a lot. Although, as I think Gleb said this, or who said this? No, someone else said this. There's a great video that Cypress team has made on code coverage by Amir and Kevin from Cypress team, and they said like having 100% code coverage doesn't mean like you don't have all of the everything covered. That doesn't mean you have zero risk of having a bug in your app, but it does help you a lot to look into what what you have covered and what you have not. So I think that's pretty cool. So let me show you what I found out yesterday. Patterns and practices. Hey, great, Cecilia. Thank you for sending that out. I don't have to look into that. So let me show you what I did yesterday. So I usually on these streams and on my workshop and stuff, I use this Trello clone app. And this app is a very simple app. You can find it on GitHub if you like. On my GitHub, let me send you a link. GitHub Trello app. Here it is. There you go. So you can check it out, and I have a branch there that is called Add Coverage. So this is what I was playing yesterday with, and I have already created a coverage report. So as you can see, I was successful, and I was so happy that I immediately started tweeting about it. And now I have 8 people on the chat. So that's nice. Let me open this report. And there I have it, right? So when I run my Cypress tests, in the final stage of everything being set up, I get this coverage, and I can look into the coverage report. And I have a couple of files in my View app, in my Trello app, and this is my current coverage. So you can see that the components part is actually something below 17%. The Trello app is 27 or something like that, and the directive is 100%. So that's cool. So I was playing around with this a little. And what I did, let me start up Cypress here. And what really struck me as a really cool thing is that this coverage, it's fairly low, but I actually have almost 17% on my components here, just by opening my app. So let me you know what, let me write a test. So I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name that test.ts, and I'll create a single test. It opens the app. And actually I should make this a little bigger so you can see it better. So there we go. Create my test. I'm going to type add visit, and I'm just going to visit the home page, right? So now I save this. I go to my test and run it, and it opens in the second window. So here I have it, right? And you can see that since I have already implemented the coverage, and I'm actually going to show you how I did that, I have already before all and after all hook already here, so it actually generates my report here. And I literally do nothing. I just open localhost. I have no boards created. I have nothing in there. And let me look into the coverage report. So I have it already open. So if I refresh it, oh, it's actually the same report that I did yesterday, right? So on my collection.js file, which is actually this screen, so this would be the collection, and if I create a board and see this screen, that would be the other one, that would be the board.js. Let me make this bigger too, so you can see it better, right? So the board.js is this screen, and the collection.js is this screen. So already I have like 28% coverage to be exact. So that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty powerful, right? So the end-to-end tests have are basically, by using your app, you can see you trigger a lot of your code. So this is pretty interesting. You can get a lot of coverage by just running your app and by running your end-to-end tests. So this is the code, and I have said that in my past streams that this is a total spaghetti code, and the reason I'm streaming, the reason I'm showing you my tests is that I haven't written tests for that. So I'm writing my tests now, and I want to make sure that I can safely refactor this and improve my code, because this is just something I have created for my course, and I wanted to have some kind of app for me to use on the course. So yeah, so let's run another test. I actually have a couple of more tests here. Let's write boards TS. So I have a couple of tests in there. Let me just look into what those tests are. And I'm going to delete this because that is what I was playing yesterday with, and it creates board via enter button, save button, and a couple of others. So let me just run this whole file. So I'll select the boards TS, and as you can see, it goes through the app. And I have created here, like, yeah, this is going to be failing. And I have created 11 tests here, right? And I was just going by my gut feeling, like, this is what I need to have covered. This is something, yeah, these are the scenarios I want to write tests for. And this is, of course, I think there's nothing wrong with that approach. But let's look into the coverage report. And you can see the number has jumped. So this is okay. This is better. But when I look into the collection, I can see all the stuff that I have missed. So for example, I have missed the part where I trigger an error. So that would be a good thing to cover. So if there's an error, I need to cover this. So there was a error creating a board, and I have no test for this. And this clearly shows me what I need to cover next. So let me go into how I set this up. And as I said, can you zoom in the code view as well? Yeah, Retro Bear. Yeah, I will. Is this? Let me know if this is too small. I can of course make it one step bigger. Thanks for telling me. All right, so let's look into what I did, and if you want to learn more, I suggest looking into that video that Cecilia has sent. It's a really good one, and it actually goes through what the coverage actually is, like what it does. It's a really good explanation of what you need to do in order to get your coverage. So Ronlu is asking, sorry if I butchered your name, is asking whether coverage is built in or it's a plugin. So it is a plugin, but that's like not the full answer. So in order to get code coverage for your app, you need to do a couple of things. And Cypress team has written a lot of really nice tutorials, and I think the video that Cecilia wrote is good. Oh, thank you. Let me make this bigger. The video that Cecilia has sent into the chat is actually a very good one. I think that's a great place to start to get yourself familiar with what code coverage actually is, and how to basically set it up theoretically. I mean, if you want to set up coverage for your own app, I think you need to really get to know your app and how that works. And what I did is I followed, since this is a Vue app, I followed the Vue guide. So let me share Cypress Vue. I think I have it here. Yeah, code coverage Vue Cypress. So this was written by Gleb. Hi Gleb, and I'll send it to the chat. But the difference between this app, the Vue calculator, and my app was that this app is actually using Vue CLI, and I was not using that. But in order to be able to enable test coverage, you basically need to do a couple of things. Yeah, Gleb writes a lot. I was trying to outblog him, but I'm still like 2 or 3 blogs weekly behind him. I do 1 blog each week at most. I didn't write a blog this week. I did, but for not for my blog. Yeah. So there are a couple of things you need to do. You need to instrument your code. In other words, you need to make your code. I don't know how would I say that. Basically, you need to make your code to change it in a way that it would give you the coverage report, and you can do that with this Babel plugin Istanbul. So the Istanbul is actually the tool that gives you these instrumentation tools that you can use, and the Babel plugin is basically a short way to do that. So I kind of did this, although there were slight differences. So what the instrumentation does is that it generates your code in such a way that when your tests are running, it actually knows which functions are being fired and which are not. So the result is going to be a report like this. So you can see that this board deleted was actually ran once, this board update was ran 4 times, and this part of code was never actually run. And in order to be able to give you these numbers and to give you the information that on your coverage, you need to instrument your code. So normally my code would look something like this. So this is the public folder, and the Trello JS would look something like this. So you can see this is already a code that is enabled for running in browser, and you can already see that there's some coverage data and stuff like that. And yeah, let's look into this line, right? So I have my view required in my app, but this gov_2l something is actually a function that is going to be ran alongside with my require view. So when that one is fired, it's going to count in that that the function was actually being called, right? So it's going to generate this. It's going to count in that it was actually called. So I call this 20 times in my tests. So this is the first part, right? So you need to make your code in a way that is actually enabled for being covered. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but if I weren't to instrument my code, this code would not have this part, right? It wouldn't show me this function. It would just be require view. So I can actually do that, right? I'm using grunt to automate my tasks. So if I need to, oh sorry, I cannot actually do that. I already made some changes. But if I go to another branch, I could do that, right? So what this grunt file does, it runs a couple of tasks for me. So it compiles my CSS, my SAS file. So it's from the SCSS, it's going to create a CSS file so the browser can actually read it. It goes into the assets folder to the main.js, and it's going to create a single Trello.js file so that browser can actually read that, right? Because browser cannot read stuff like there's stuff that browser cannot read. I wouldn't go too much into detail because I'm not able to explain that well enough. What I'm doing as an extra step here is that I'm using a package called Babelify. I think that's how you would read that. And what it basically does, it does an extra step, right? So not only it is going to change this JS file so that it is possible to read it in a browser, it is actually going to run whatever is set up in my Babel.js config file. So it's going to change my code in a way. So Babel, what it does, it can do a lot of things. Like Babel is a tool that can do so much stuff that I'm not even able to say what it can do. But one of the things that I'm doing here is using this Babel Istanbul plugin. So it runs my it runs this main.js file, and it is not only going to make it readable for the browser, but it is also going to use Babel to make another adjustments to my code. So when this all is ready, right? So, and I have the output, I have this file that uses this coverage report. This is a half of the story, right? So I have set up my code in this way, and yeah, I can jump into the coverage. The way you know that your coverage is properly set up is that you go to your app and write window underscore coverage. Do I have it? I did something wrong. Coverage. And I can see that the coverage is already here. So I can see my files, that there's a board.js file that is being watched for. There's collection file, view focus, main.js. That my app is basically, it has this coverage report, and this is the object where all the data of the functions being called is going to be fed in, right? So I have my app instrumented. If I didn't have this here, if I didn't have this in my grunt file, if I would skip this option, let's skip this option for now. I think this would work. Let me just play with that. So I'll run npx grunt dev. So it's going to run these tasks. So it's going to compile my SCSS and it's going to run my browserify task. This will create my public JS Trello. And now when I open this app, you can see that it is just a regular JavaScript code. Well, it's not so regular, it's actually being compiled so the browser can read it. But you can see that all my coverage report stuff has disappeared. So what we do in Babel is to make our code be able, Oh, cool. Bye, Cecilia. So what I do here is to basically create my code in a way, or to, So I'm babbling around now. Let me go back to the codes and make it again, so it does have that coverage thing in it. All right, let's look into that. And seems like we're good to go, right? Great. So this is the first part of the story. So I need to create a version of my app where that coverage report where it is possible to create a coverage report. Now, second part is to make Cypress work with this instrumented app, right? So there's a plugin called Cypress Code Coverage. So I install this. Let's find it on npm. So there I have it, right? So when I do npm install code coverage, I install a plugin. What I need to do is to import it into my index.js file and also import it to the plugins index.js file. So what this does is it adds this before and after hook to save the code coverage into the coverage folder right here. So I already did that, and I think the hardest part for this is actually the easy part, right? So installing a plugin is just one require in my index.js file, and in the support folder I also just import my code coverage support. The hard part is actually doing the instrumenting part. And the reason why that is hard is that it is actually different for every application. I was trying to add code coverage into an Angular app, and that was a really hard thing to do. In fact, I wasn't able to do it until today, or so far actually. But I tried this with my Vue app, so I was finally able to do that. But the good thing is that there are actually a lot of different blogs on this, on how to enable this. So if you have a React app, or you have a Vue app that uses the CLI, or you have a Angular app, you should find a blog or article on how basically instrument your app, because the instrumentation part part is the hard one. Once you have your app instrumented, then it's basically just install this plugin, import it where you need to, and that's it. What made it harder for the Angular app? I think the hard part was that I actually didn't really understand how that is built, and yeah, I think that was just a lack of my knowledge. I don't actually believe it is too hard, but yeah, to make it to make the instrumentation, I think it is important to know how your app is built. So when I tried to go by this block, and I realized that I am not using the Vue CLI, but I'm just using Grunt to basically optimize my files for browser and use Browserify. I basically had to find a solution on my own, but I knew that this plugin helps, and I knew that I use Grunt to basically do this. So in one way or another, what I need to do is in this public JS, in this public file, public folder, I need to create such a Trello.js app that is going to have this coverage functions in place. So let me just go ahead and try to write a couple of tests to get some more coverage on this app. So I'm going to delete this test.js, and let's look into the test. So I have a failed test here on the deletes port. So let me see if this, what can I do to fix it? Because I'm waiting for a delete board, and it doesn't seem to happen, but I see a delete request happening, so probably I'm just not routing it correctly. Let me change this a little so that it's more readable. And yeah, so delete boards, and here's the boards API, and I have an alias for delete board, but I don't have but it's probably not properly set up. And yeah, I'm not wildcarding this well enough. So if I save this and use dot only to filter out my test, let's see. It seems like I have some kind of problems in my app, and I'm not going to look into that right now, but I see my test is already passing, so that's great. So let me now run this again, and I think the unstart board was actually also failing, but let's run this and I'll try to see if I can get closer to 100% on my collections JS file. So here I have my report, and collection.js has 89.47, and yeah, so create new board. If I have an error, I want to cover this scenario. So let's look into that. Now, for this, I can use the new intercept command. So let's write a test for a scenario when it throws a proper error on unsuccessful API, something like that. And So let me visit my app, and what I want to do here is that after I visit, I want to add a new board. And I think I already have a custom command for that. Oops, commands add board API. And what it does, add board UI, sorry. And what it does, it clicks on my H1 tag, and then it types in the name. So basically clicks on here and then adds the name of my board, right? So let's use that, add board by UI, and I'm going to name it new board. And let's see if I did add board UI is not a function, so I forgot to import that. So let me import that, add board UI. Now I have it, and here it is. Okay, so I'm creating a board, so that action is all good. So let's now add a new intercept command. Intercept, and I already have an intercept in my before each hook, so I wonder how these two are going to work. With the old root command, I could actually have it twice, and the second one would rewrite the first one, which is probably like not the very best scenario, very best way to do that. In a real world, I would probably not have all these tests in one file, or I would maybe just write those tests a little differently. I would probably think about that, how I would not repeat myself too much. But I mean, if it's worth it, if it makes sense to keep this test inside this spec, then I would probably keep that. Alright, but what I want to do is not only to intercept this command and just look at it or wait for it. What I want to do is actually change the behavior here. So I'm going to add a third argument, and I'm going to force a network error. So if there's a network error, I want to make sure that when I wasn't able to create that board, that it actually does something. It actually shows the error. So let's see, let's force network error, and it's going to be true. So now when I save this, let's see what happens. And I can see there's an error creating board. So this is good. This is what I wanted here. So let's see if when I run all my tests now, or all those that are not skipped, that the coverage report gets better. And as you can see, it does, right? So I have my message here, and I have a timeout here. So this is the part of the code I probably should rewrite in some way, or maybe not, I don't know. So there's a timeout set for this message, and it should only appear for 4 seconds. And after that 4 seconds pass, it's going to set the error message show to false. So basically it's going to hide my error message. And this is not something I can trigger via UI. But I wonder, because I'm finishing my test right after I try to create my board. So let's see if I write maybe I'm finishing my tests too soon. So if I write an assertion for this error message, so I want to make sure that it is visible. Let me just get it. There I have it. So the ID error message, oops. So after I type in my board, I'm going to get the error message and make sure that it is visible. But it also should disappear after. And it should appear, so not exist. I think it should disappear afterwards. But let's see if that works because default timeout is 4 seconds. So we are just milliseconds. We're playing with milliseconds here. Oh, let me just filter this out. Okay, and yeah, so my test has passed. It had the assertion for the message to be visible. It had the assertion for the message to not appear in DOM or not to exist. So it appears and then it disappears. So let's look into how that coverage report looks. And yeah, this doesn't work. Doesn't seem so. So I need to probably, if I want to achieve 100% coverage, if I want to do that for some reason, and I'm not really 100% sure that I should do that, then I should probably find a way how to test this, if this actually happens. Although I am seeing it happen, I can see that it does happen. Okay. But it's certainly an improvement, and the good thing about the coverage is that it actually shows me the parts of my code that weren't tested properly. So before I ran the coverage report, before I looked into the coverage report, I wasn't aware that this is actually a scenario that I'm missing. I was pretty sure that the boards are covered really well. And yeah, I was wrong. And it seems like my last test has failed. So I think this is not really the best way to write this test, because I want to make sure that the error message is visible when the error happens. So yeah. But I also want to make sure that it disappears. And since it disappears after 4 seconds, and also the default command timeout is 4 seconds, then I should probably make some safe period here, and I'm going to set timeout for 5 seconds. Do I set it here or do I set it on the get? I'm not entirely sure if this is the place where the assertion should be. Let me see. And it seems like the assertion is running for a little longer, isn't it? No, actually it seems to be the same. So I probably need to put this here. Yeah. So you can see the progress bar moving, but for some reason the test still failed. Let me run it again. Oh, okay. So it seems like the error message still exists in DOM. So I jumped into the conclusion that the error message stops existing after it disappears. And I should ask the author of the application how he or she wrote it. And I'm the author of the application, so I probably should ask myself how I wrote this app. And when I look into the coverage, it seems like I have this error message thing show, which is either set to true or false, and based on that it's going to show or hide the error message. And let's maybe look into that, how that is written. So it's in the collection. No, I think it's in the main file. The error message is actually on the top. Show login module. Nope. It's been quite a long time since I've done any work on this app. What I wanted to do first is to write my tests and then update it. So let me just search, right? Show error message. It's nowhere to be found. Let me see. So I go into the coverage report to find my error message. Oh, sorry, it's error message, not show error message. And there it is, right? So I have my markup here, and it's going to so there's a v show directive, and it's going to show this message based on whether this error message show is set to true or false. But I'm not entirely sure what v show actually does. So it seems like it should be just showing or hiding a message, and it seems like the message is actually still inside the DOM. Well, at least, yeah, it's here. It just has the property display set to none. But let me examine my app a little more. So I open my app in a separate window, and I try to see if the error message, yeah, it's always there. So this is probably not the best optimized way to write your error messages, or maybe it is, I don't know. Like, I'm not, as I said, I'm not really a developer. I'm more of on the tester side of things. So when I get to develop an app, it's a great learning experience actually, but there are a lot of anti-patterns. So if you are into learning to code here, I think there are many great people to learn from, and it's not going to be me, at least not today. Maybe in the future. Wish me luck. So what I need to do, so now that I know how my app works, that it actually has that message always in there, but it just changes visibility. Let me just rewrite this assertion in a way that I will just check on visibility, right? So it should not be visible. And there I have it. And I wonder if this timeout, I'm not going to change that for a moment. Let me see. And the test is still not passing. So let me look into what I'm doing here. So the error message, let me run that again, because I don't think I've seen what happens. It seems so that actually the first assertion is not coming. Oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing. What I did actually here is that I have changed these two assertions, which is something that I should not do. I should actually do it like this. I should have a separate thing, or at least I think this is where I have made an error. So this timeout can stay. This timeout I'm going to delete because I want to see the error message appear right away, and if it doesn't appear 4 seconds in, then it's probably not good. And I think I can also delete this timeout. So yeah, first I want to assert that the message appears, but I want to assert that the message actually disappears. And Ron, thank you for your kind words. And now, yeah, now it seems we are working correctly. So yeah, this is the part I enjoy about streaming. I get to solve problems on the go, right? So this is how I would actually work. So if the not exist assertion would not work, then the first thing I want to do is to look into what the app actually does. And I have found out that it actually has the element, the error message. It actually is in the DOM, it's present all the time. The only thing that changes is the visibility. So yeah, so let me run that again. I'm really curious about that coverage, and I wonder how I could possibly test this. And it's interesting because when the message disappears, I feel like this is something that should have been called, right? So let me refresh. Oh, and it was. Okay, yeah, all right. So it does make sense. It does make sense to me now. Yeah. So the first time, before I had these two assertions here, it totally made sense that this was actually not called, because this gets called only after 4 seconds, and I have finished my test early, right? So when I actually ended my test on this type command. So right after I typed enter, it would just finish. So I needed to add this assertion to make sure that everything that needs to happen actually happens, and only after that my report is generated. So when it is generated right after the type, it of course is not going to have this. All right, so cool. Now we are at 100% of functions and 97% of the lines. And what is this? This is the create new board. And if this create new board title, return. Oh, all right. So this is an interesting one. So this function actually, what it does, it prevents me from, let me open my app in the second window. So when I click on the create new board and I hit enter now, or click on the save button now, it shouldn't allow me to create an empty board. It shouldn't fire the request. It just shouldn't allow me to do anything. I need to type at least one character. So if I do, yeah, it's going to throw an error now because I'm still intercepting my command. So let's do a total coverage and run this. And it's interesting because it seems like this function is actually called a couple of times. This new board title. Maybe it's just, oh yeah, so the if statement, yeah, the if statement is ran, but it never actually goes inside because this never resolves to true, right? So in my tests, I always create a new board. So let me add a new test, and I'm going to add it up here because since I'm intercepting here, this is my last test. Yeah, now I'm definitely convinced I should put this test in some other spec file. Well, keep it for today. So let me write another test, and let's write Let's write it does nothing when board name is not set. So again, I'm going to visit my app, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to look into the function and just copy this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the create board, and what I'm going to do is just click on the save button, right? Let's click on the save button. So let me find a selector for that button. I'm going to inspect that element, click on save, and it's a button class. And let me maybe play with the selector playground. It seems like it gives me just one element. What if I just select the button? That's going to give me 3 elements. But if I use button, can I use it like this? I actually haven't played with the selector playground that much. Seems like I can't. Button, nope. Because I can actually use contains with 2 arguments. The first one being a selector and the second one would be the matching text. So what I like to do a lot, and you can see it actually here, I'm going to select an element using my contains command. I'm going to select it with a create abort text, right? But I'm not going to select just any element that has this text, but I'm going to select an H1 element. So what I want to do is, oops, not visit, but use contains and use the button. And normally what I would do would be just create data selectors, but I don't really want to do that now because as I already said, I have my app in a course somewhere, and I don't want to change stuff and just use selectors and then change my classes and stuff like that, and basically make the course not be working. I want to keep all the classes, everything as intact as possible. So yeah, I'm using classes, which is not the best thing. I think you should use data selectors. I've been using them, basically adding them to the code base, to the HTML markup, and it works really, really well. I like that. So let me click on the button save, and I want to click on that. That's what I want to do. And what it should do, it should do nothing, right? So nothing happens. And I wonder what can I do here, maybe to make sure that I see the nothing happen. This is the hard part, right? I want to make sure that nothing happens. And I wonder how would I test that? I don't want to add waits into my command. Like, I don't want to wait for 1 second and then make an assertion about something. I want to make sure that after I click that nothing happens. So this is a pickle. So what I can do a couple of things. I can check my URL. So if I create a board, it's going to redirect me to the board URL, and I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. I cannot really do... Oh, it fires a request? No, it doesn't. It's a board list request. So I cannot do like checking for a request that some kind of request does not happen. That's not another thing I could do. Also, like, I can check for this save button to be visible, or I can do some other action. I could click on this X button and basically if I click on this X button, then count on the boards. Maybe that's a good idea. But in any scenario, like whenever I create a new board, I'm immediately redirected to that board. So the counting of boards would work in a way, but it wouldn't really copy the real behavior of the app, because but the count of the boards would, it could kind of work, because if I would get redirected, I wouldn't be able to find a single board in my app. But since I'm starting with 0 boards here, I would still not be able to. Maybe if I started this test with a single board and then counted the boards, I think that's a. I think the idea could go somewhere. Yeah, but I mean, if I run this test like this, and I look into my coverage report, I can see that this is already covered. So this is actually a good information for me on whether the application is doing what it is supposed to do, right? So if I run all my tests and then let's run them all. And now when I look into my report and it actually covers 100% of the lines, that's actually good proof that this part is behaving correctly. So maybe this is the answer here. Although I don't know if I'm fully satisfied with this answer. But I mean, 100% coverage, that's pretty cool, right? Okay, so cool. So the other thing that I will probably play with today or tomorrow or sometime in the future is to see if I'm not doing too much extra stuff. Like the temptation I had yesterday was actually to delete all my tests and start from scratch and just count on the coverage to see what parts of my app I have covered and what parts I haven't. And now it looks like I'm calling some stuff a lot and some stuff not so much. But I don't know, maybe that's not the important part. But I think I could somehow optimize my tests to be as effective as possible. Or maybe I could, I don't know, write just a single test to test my whole app. It's a small app, so a single test could work, probably. Although, there would be probably too many actions here. Like, if only a single thing broke, that would be the end of it, right? It would just, I would have a single test that would fail, so it means nothing works, right? And that's not entirely true. So I like to have my tests clustered a little bit and to basically showcase a single action. Right, so cool. So we have covered our collection.js. So the next step is to look into boards.js and to look into everything basically. So the main.js also. So there's logging, there's lots of stuff to be tested. But since I like to keep these streams short and sweet, and we have already passed an hour, I'm going to wrap it up here. So thank you everyone for coming. I think I'm happy if you learned something. I've certainly learned that I'm not really the best of explaining how to set up the code coverage, but the writing of those tests was definitely fun, and it's definitely fun to explore how to get to that 100%. I will definitely, I'm using definitely a lot, but it's this was a nice experience. So I will be very happy if this became a blog soon. So make sure you look into my page, philipritz.com. I will be dropping some blog on this experience and on how to, maybe even how to set up coverage. I would be happy if I could explain it properly, because that's the fun of it. I really love to teach people some stuff. So if you learn something, Ron says it was clear for you, then I'm happy. That's awesome. Thank you so much, friends, for coming today. This was fun. So see you next time. And the next time will be, I think I'll have another stream next Monday, like this pre-Christmas stream, last one. I'm going to do another one. Let's see what the topic will be. Maybe I'll just be writing some more tests for this app. And if there's something you want to learn, then definitely stop by the Discord channel or the Discord server. And there's a lot of discussion there, are a lot of help requests and stuff like that. So feel free to ask. Hopefully someone can help you. If I have some time, I'll definitely try to help you. So either meet me there or we'll meet next week. Thank you so much. Have a great day, have a great week, and have a great holiday. Bye bye.